Hi, everyone, and welcome back. This is Mark Dickinson for Golf Business Academy, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Rickson Dsouza. He's an inspiration. His title is really exciting. He's an advisor to high-performing entrepreneurs and executives, and he believes the greatest thing you can do is show up with a check. So I'm happy to welcome him to our show today. Rickson, welcome. Great to have you.
Thanks so much, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Rickson, we're in the middle of a crisis. Before we get into that, I'd just really like to have you share with our viewers what it is you do and tell us a little bit about your story. It's a very exciting story, so please share.
So I'm in the life insurance business, and my job is really to show up with a check for my clients if the worst possibly happens to them. The people I tend to be a hero to are business owners, high-performing entrepreneurs, as well as high-performing executives. My story, I think, is pretty average, but I'll tell you, I was born and raised in the Middle East, and Dubai is home. But I used to be a morbidly obese entrepreneur, weighing 136 kilos and managing a team of 60 people. I exited the business, and I dropped all the weight, and this is the new me. And I've been this way now for the last 8 years, and I constantly feel the need to challenge myself both mentally as well as physically to keep performing at the level I wanted.
This is only half the story. I think you're being very humble here. Can you tell us a little bit about, that journey, 137 kilos? How heavy are you now?
I am 73 kilos right now, though I'd like to be heavier. But yes, so I was 137 kilos. It was a result of a lot of bad decisions in life. When I got into this business and this industry, it was a commission, and it still is a commission-only job. So which meant while most of the people followed a weekend and specific work hours, I didn't. I just needed to work till I could make enough money to pay my bills, and this was the norm. And as it grew with that, so did my bad habits of eating at any point in time and anywhere, anything. My idea of a workout was to play basketball once a week with the boys and then spend the whole week recovering from that fatigue. But yeah, over a course of time, I got married, I had a beautiful daughter, and in 2012, I realized that I couldn't even last a few minutes playing with her. I applied for a life insurance policy with one of the larger insurance companies in Dubai, who I sold a lot of contracts for. And they decided to charge me. At 33, they charged me 100% more than the average person my age. This was just not acceptable for me, and it was a turning point in my life. And I realized that I needed to fix this problem. We also come from a family where diabetes and a bunch of other health conditions were pretty rampant among my dad and his brothers. So this was a huge turning point in my life. And I realized that the only reason I didn't have any medical conditions at the time was owing to age. I was 33. It was a matter of time before it all crept in. So the
Rickson, I mean, that's 60 kilos or something like 60 kilos.
That's right. That's correct.
I mean, that's a whole other person standing right there.
There is a joke about that I have a spare who's charging right now.
Yes. And I heard that as a result, you've done some pretty amazing running events. Could you tell us about one of those?
Sure. Running came a little later on in time. It was around 2017 that I realized that I hated running. Up until then, I would do one 10-kilometer run every quarter, if that. And I decided I needed to get better at running. And the only way I can do things like these is by putting a really scary goal in front of myself. So I decided to look up the most difficult foot race in the world. Marathon Dsouza showed up, which is a 250-kilometer ultra run across the Sahara Desert. It's a 5-stage race, and you have to carry all your provisions with you. It was exciting for me because I loved the elements and the fact that I'd be camping in nature and sleeping bags and tents, and this was amazing for me. So I signed up for it. And I then had about 5 months to get better at running. I absolutely enjoyed the experience of going from 10 kilometers every quarter to be able to running 5 subsequent marathons, one after another, for 5 days consecutively. That was a fantastic experience. I enjoyed it so much that I decided to do it again in 2019 with a bunch of friends who wanted to do this as well. And since then it's just been a constant trying to find my limits, both mentally as well as physically. Yes, it's been exciting.
Fantastic. Well, I want you to share a couple of pictures for us. We'll put them into the
Sure.
into the feed so people can see the real story, because Rickson, it's an inspiration. One of the things that you always talk about is these big, scary goals. What does that mean to you, and how could that apply to somebody else?
So, big, scary goals for me all this while has been in the physical space ever since I went on the weight loss journey. But when I think and apply myself more to these things today, I'm realizing that through life, I've always picked the road less taken. And to the average Joe, really, it's not any different. We're all the same. We just choose to take the path which is most trodden on because we think this is where the masters are going, so we should do that. But my personal opinion on this is I find things which I think I'm really bad at. At the moment, it's languages. I'm really bad at languages and even at accents. So one of the scary goals I've picked for this period of COVID, when we're in lockdown and trying to find some more activities to keep myself busy with, is to learn Spanish. And today I don't rely on this book, but there are tons of apps and things out there which can help us get better at this stuff. So I think choosing a scary goal gives us that motivation and that drive to go out there and go after it. I think if you choose a goal, personally, if you choose a goal that you can accomplish, there isn't that much of motivation and excitement to go after it.
Right.
I have a habit of choosing things which I know are difficult, are an absolute challenge. And my whole thought process on this, or execution process on this, is to choose that goal and then announce it to the world and then have people hold me accountable for it. A deadline is always there and a reward is always there for accomplishing that goal.
Brilliant. Well, this is amazing value. If people don't go further in this interview, this is already fantastic. So here we are, we're in the middle of this crisis, and a lot of people are struggling to hold things together. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of challenges out there. There's financial challenges, there's social challenges, there's emotional challenge, everything you can imagine. And, I really salute and thank all the people who are working so hard to help us get through this phase. But this phase is going to end.
Yeah. Yes.
What comes afterwards?
I think there's going to be a lot of things that will evolve in the course of this lockdown period that we as individuals will be able to wrap our head around better. I think we've always had the infrastructure, the technology, for instance, to work from home, if you want to call it that, or remotely. But it was never exercised, right? There was never a need for it. People got into a pattern of driving to work every single day, check in, check out, spend an 8-hour day. Today, if I look at my day, I wake up at 4 in the morning. I begin a call with my team at 7:15 a.m. And this was a decision that we decided to take together because they said, listen, we would drive to work anyways in the morning. So we're happy to start our call early so that we can get down to work early. I'm done with my workday by 1 p.m. every day. It's very rare that I'm working beyond 1 p.m. today. But I think the change will be with various communities and companies coming together and bringing the teams together on a social media platform like this versus actually having the need to physically be present in an office, just using technology. The things that I have noticed in the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks, has been, for instance, our monthly sales meeting or our weekly sales meeting would draw maybe 20, 25 people into the office, and people would complain about this. Hey, we've got parking problems, we can't find parking, we're going to be late, etc., etc. Today, the fact is people need community so much that our Zoom or Microsoft Teams meeting that takes place for the team, you have 70, 80 people logging in from various parts of the UAE and, just listening in the call, sharing inputs and motivating and inspiring others. We thought we required, my industry is pretty Jurassic. We still require a lot of paper and documentation. But I'm seeing an evolution today where companies which are, insurance companies, usually slow to respond to change. These companies today are going digital. They're coming up with use of new technology, and it's amazing. It's almost like there's been a catalyst that this pandemic has caused, which will drive us well beyond the pandemic lasts. So I have I have an opinion that the future post-COVID is going to be very bright. I have this amazing acknowledgement of the fact that we have things which are probably a lot more important to us than just commerce and trade that we may have ignored for the longest time, and we are getting time to actually deal with all of that today, which is huge. Whether it is decluttering, spending more time with family, spending more time on yourself. I've seen people get into meditation. It's been on my list for the longest time. I could never find the time for it, but today, hey, we have the time. And I think, people are getting more, what's the word for it? More productive, more efficient, and the realization that we really don't need 8 hours a day to perform our jobs. I think that's a big thing. I don't know how many people are really spending 8 hours a day. Yeah.
And what's the future of the office?
This is a very interesting bit. I personally have not used a physical office for the last 3 years. And I've been convincing my team now to not show up to the office, but work remotely. One of my team members drives for an hour and a half in the morning to show up at the office and drives 2 hours in traffic to go back home. And we actually did a calculation of this. This was 5 days a week for 40 to 45 weeks of the year. You have about 800 hours available. And then what could you do in 800 hours if it was handed over to you on a silver platter? And today the reality is this individual is functioning absolutely flawlessly, right, from the confines of his residence. So in my opinion, I don't know, maybe the brick and mortar, that frame that we put ourselves in, that box, that room, that office, maybe that's not going to be such a requirement anymore. Maybe the optics. I think, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think the optics are changing. The visuals, yeah, people are still getting used to wearing their pants while having a Zoom call. That still is something which is being learned, or the fact that things needed to be muted around the place. This still needs to be your zone, Sure,
yeah.
that will come with time and learning. But for I think remote working is going to be bigger, if you ask me.
Do you think that the smart business now would be perhaps even office free? There's no office, and then they would probably use portions of money to arrange group gatherings. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a very likely probability, because if you think about it today, these offices, these large spaces are not being utilized. Either you've paid for them or you've got rent going out, you've got the infrastructure, but people are working from the confines of their home. I think a realization to the entrepreneur is going to be to either make those spaces more efficient for other purposes. I'm sure the brick and mortar would still be required, but what will be the use of it is a different thing altogether. And that's probably an evolving theme, right?
And would we be able to see the reduction in costs passed on to customers as a reduction in how much they have to pay for the services they buy? What do you think about that?
I don't see why not. I really don't see why not. Of course, it's industry specific, right? But I mean, if you think about the probability of an autonomous driving vehicle, and if you think about Uber as a market leader with the ride-sharing apps and stuff like that, the reality is today the biggest cost is still the driver who has to be paid. Right. I mean, I'm excited about new technology with cars, because at some point in time, if you could have a driverless car, this would be just the next best thing, right? So yeah, I do feel that this can be passed on to the consumer in pricing. Needless to say, this would be industry specific, because some industries still will have to function maybe evolved a bit, but would still need the brick and mortar. Restaurants, for example, is a good example, right? You still require serving staff, you still require hosts, etc., etc. But
very interesting.
yeah.
Now, a lot of businesses are getting their slate wiped clean right now. They're going to end this period without any employees, but they're going to have the assets, they're going to have the customers, they got their systems, they got all the structure. How big an opportunity is it for them to move forward with this white slate and rebuild? How big an opportunity is that?
I think it's huge because we usually carry a lot of baggage, right? And that tends to be an anchor that prevents us from moving forward. Today, I think we've been given this opportunity where this slate was wiped clean for us. So you're actually beginning the next journey without carrying any of this baggage forward. I think the innovation that comes from this lockdown, can be very, very critical to how your business performs in the future. My personal way of dealing with this strategy is I've got a wall in front of me that I write things on. One of the things that changed over there is I put down things like lockdown goals. So what kind of technology or apps or product suites that I need to implement today, or skills that I need to implement today that can make me more able to deal with the world post-COVID, right? Self-sufficient.
Right.
So this is something which I think if entrepreneurs and business owners can sit and think about that specific thing today and how the reinvention of their business should take place post-COVID, this could be huge. It could be a game changer, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is your game-changing thought?
So for me, like I said, we're from this industry. I think that today we need to push a lot of content out. My personal thing is, people have the time today to sit and talk to me. I'm having more conversations with my clients today than I did pre-COVID, obviously, because these were things that were put on the back burner. How much should you invest? Where should you invest? Do you have enough life insurance? This is a conversation which people don't want to talk about on a normal basis. Whereas today, I think there is time to digest information. I'm listening to a lot more podcasts today. I'm reading a lot more. I'm pulling media to read a lot of more information which is relevant to me. And I think that this is a great time for me to put more content out there in the right channels so that my audience can actually listen to this. One thing that
Great. You have to send us some links, so we'll add them to this post.
Absolutely. So the other thing.
Promise?
Promise. This is me. I'll send you all the links we've got. We're creating a lot of these links right now. One of the big things I did, which was on the back burner for me for 2 years, was I created a YouTube channel. It took me less than 6 minutes to do this. And all this while, I told myself that this was going to be, so difficult. I needed someone who's capable with technology. It just took 6 minutes. That's it. It was unbelievable. And I thought about this, and I'm thinking right now, what are the other capabilities that I am currently outsourcing? And we outsourced because we had lesser time, but a greater income. Today, that is inverse, where you have more time and possibly a lower income. So the resources are being managed very differently. So for me, I'm looking at from a technology standpoint, something as simple as Calendarly, right? Which allows you to send a link to someone to book an appointment in your slot, rather than having an assistant make a call to fix an appointment. So this is something which is so simple, but I know so many businesses and so many individuals that today have people call out to fix appointments. This can be automated right away. It's a skill set which is repeatable, and the probability of an error being made is far lesser than an individual coordinating this. Simple, right? Sure. So some of these things are, I feel that there's going to be a lot of game changers in this period that will evolve. Yeah.
Brilliant. I want to move on to an area of my passion, which is customers. How do you see customer expectations changing post-crisis?
Okay, so first of all, it depends upon the industry you're in. If there is a lot of human interaction, then I'm
talking about your industry.
Oh, this is interesting because at the moment there's a lot of disruption, right? We've been given to understand that till today we've had no issues with new policies being issued for life insurance, medical insurance, critical illness. None of the insurers have flagged COVID as a potential risk to issuing new life insurance policies. But if you think about what goes into buying a life insurance policy, a client has to undergo a medical checkup, how ironic is it today that an individual, to secure his family, needs to go to a medical center to have a medical checkup done, potentially putting himself at greater risk of contracting a condition to buy a life insurance policy. So these things are a moving target and they're evolving. But what I've noticed is at this point, if you are someone who is facing consumers on a day-to-day basis, on a face-to-face basis, then it is very important right now to reach out to your client bank, talk to them and address issues and concerns that they have. This human interaction is something that we're all craving. And I think using tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Skype and a bunch of other FaceTime related apps, you can actually interact with people and give them a dose of human interaction. But I feel at this point in time, it's very, very critical that you are there for an individual. And I do believe that this will carry through in the future. There are a handful of people that can actually hold fort right now and who can actually think beyond themselves. And it's very important that you find that person in you and be there for your end user, your customer, because everyone is going through something pretty tough and maybe unplanned, obviously.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what kind of values will become the new important values?
Efficiency is a big thing. I feel today people are being more smart with their time. So I think efficiency is definitely going to be something that people will take forward in the future. I know from corporate space, people always told me, hey, listen, we've got 100 meetings about meetings. I think that's going to change significantly, right? So people will probably be a little more conscious of other people's time. I think the human interaction part of it will be huge. Awareness of the fact that we may have way too much as a resource that we really need. So the whole minimalist and essentialist part of it is something which is probably something which will go in as well. And I'm noticing that people are more punctual today. Because when you said we have a meeting at 11:15, we began our meeting at 11:15. Because is conscious of the fact that it's someone else's time. And if I miss this person right now, he's probably going to jump on a call with somebody else. It's game over, right? So there are things that will come of this. But I think the human interaction part of it will be a very big thing. Because we've taken a lot of people for granted, dismissive maybe of people in the past, because there was so much around. But if you look at it today, this is what we're craving the most, is that human interaction. And I believe a lot of values will evolve from that theme.
Do you see any scenario where we go back to business as usual before COVID?
So I think as a race, we humans have always evolved, right? There's been a situation, we found a way to deal with it, and we've moved on. Whether we'll go back to life pre-COVID is a whole different thing. My real thought process on this is how many people want to go back to that life pre-COVID versus evolve from that into a brighter, better, bigger future. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think some businesses may still, but I think for the masses, we've changed already. We've changed.
Yeah.
Already. Yeah.
Right. Great. Last question. The crisis coming to an end. Today, Bill Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are talking about beginning trials on Monday of a vaccine, which will take probably to the end of 2020 to be proved. This is going to end. We are going to get into a post-corona stage.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? What's this euphoria? What's going to be the reaction of people? Are we going to see a moment, or is it going to be gradual? How do you see that happening?
I'll relate it to an experience I had about a year ago. I took a day of silence as part of one of my races that I did. It was a long day and I took a day of silence. The race got over and it took me a while to get back into normal life because I enjoyed the silence so much, right? So I think, yes, there may be a euphoria, but I think people will at some point miss the calm of this lockdown that we're facing globally, because it focused our energies and our lives were focused around things that we did not have time for in the past. So while I see that there will be a euphoria for people to go back to normal life, people are already talking about, we'll never say no to this party, we will never say no to that event, we will go here. But I think they will also, maybe there'll be a blend, in my opinion, of pre and post-COVID that will bring more of a balance to our lives.
Fantastic. Well, Rickson, I really appreciate you taking this time to be with us on the Gulf Business Academy. I am grateful for all your thoughts and insights, and everybody, we really thank you. And we look forward to looking at those streams and those pictures that we're going to put down below here.
Sure.
And guys, keep it tuned to Gulf Business Academy. We have more interviews coming up, and thank you so much, Rickson.
Thanks for having me, Mark. See you guys. Take care.